Hello again, listeners, and welcome to another week of Walford Weekly, where we recap the week of EastEnders as broadcast on the BBC between Monday the 11th to Friday the 15th of January 2021. He's back again. His eyebrows are on fleek. It is Rob. Rob
Hi.
is here. Hello, Rob.
Keep them arched, keep them parched, I say.
Yeah, very dark, but, I think they suit you.
Yeah, I think so.
Your new
Give me a permanent expression of just annoyed. I like that. I can just glare at people without even trying.
Your new Hollywood look.
Yeah.
It's slowly coming along. The Botox.
Botox next.
Yeah, I was about to ask, has that been booked in?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not a fan of needles, but, keep, no pain, no gain.
Yeah. If it makes the eyebrows for expression and the face can stay neutral.
Exactly. There you go.
Last week, Ben and Rob hosted the show. They booed me. Let's comment about that for a moment. So what was that about?
I think Ben's just a really, really bad influence. It was like the supply teacher coming in. Do you know what I mean? Like misbehaviour. I don't know what happened.
But I didn't like that Ben claimed that a few of my theories were his own too. There were words said, let's just say, behind closed doors that night.
Oh,
yeah,
really?
Yeah.
Wow.
That kind of mundane relationship conversation.
Right, yeah.
I'm making it sound more exciting than it really is. We have some news to start with, so should we dive into that first?
Let's do it.
So this week, a few newspapers released claim, and we must say this is a claim, that Maisie Smith is unlikely to renew her current contract with EastEnders and is planning to leave at the end of October to set her path to crack Hollywood. Some people could argue that it's a very bad time to consider that, especially.
What do you think?
We must say this has not been confirmed by the soap nor by Maisie Smith. It's from an outside source, which has been dug up by the Daily Fail. So you can't always necessarily see it as maybe fact, but
what a source that is.
I know.
Nothing but facts on Walford Weekly.
But she's been on the roll for 13 years. She's beloved. We enjoy her. I mean, I think she's a great character. They don't seem to do too much with her, but they do give her the odd story here and there. She's had that big story with Keegan. She obviously had the drug dealing storyline in her
Queen Evie.
With Queen Eve. I want to quickly mention that she has been treated a little bit harshly outside of the soap by the soap producers, because where like Adam Woodyat kind of has been promoting his gin while in lockdown, and Jake Wood has been promoting his podcast and even got given time off to do a tour, Maisie Smith was basically given a wrist slap just by doing a bit of advertising on her TikTok her TikTok account. And I feel like she has, if it's on the strength of that she perhaps wants to maybe earn a bit more revenue another way, I can kind of understand it in that kind of respect.
Well, let us just begin this by saying, didn't Maisie do well on Strictly? This
She
news thing
did.
that
She did.
We have been meaning to say that Maisie Smith was on Strictly for weeks, and we just kept forgetting because neither of us watch it. So every time that we were going on about like Shane and Jess being an I'm a Celebrity, which we both saw, it was just like we should mention Maisie and Strictly at some point, and it never happened. She did well. Well done, Maisie.
Yeah, it was a running joke between Rob and I. Every time we finished recording, I'd get a message. I'd get a WhatsApp message, and it was like, "Oh, we forgot to mention it again." So yes, let's just say once and for all that Maisie did a very good job on Strictly.
Second.
She came second, yes, to Bill Bailey.
Bill Bailey. All people.
I think he was the elderly favourite, let's just say. But about Maisie leaving, what do you think about that?
Well, I mean, I think it would be a shame if she left, because I do like Tiff. Like we say, we've not had it confirmed or anything like that. We're purely going on media speculation here. I think, like you say, it would be a very bad time to decide to go and see what else the world of entertainment has to offer her, because right now it's not a huge amount in anywhere. You can't go to America at the moment, I don't think. So it's not the best time to go and try and crack Hollywood. But I would also argue that it's probably a bit of a weird time for the cast at the minute with regards to contracts and all of that sort of thing. So who knows? Because we've had quite a few exits and talk of exits and surprise exits and not exits and all of that sort of thing. So
and exits that weren't exits but were exits.
Yeah, exactly. And fire exits and all sorts. So
emergency exits.
Yeah, all sorts. So we'll just have to wait and see. I hope she doesn't leave because I like her and I like Tiff's role in the show at the moment. But I don't know. We'll see.
It's a shame because isn't she the last butcher as well? Like the last of the butchers?
Yes, I think so, yeah.
It feels so strange that there's going to be no butcher on the square anymore. Butcher family tie, I mean. There's not been an actual butcher, no, for a long, long time. But again, watching the classic episodes of EastEnders, it all seems to all ruminate around the butchers and the Mitchells. And it's just so strange to think that there will be no more butchers. It feels weird.
I mean, there's always Ricky who could come back at some point. I'm sure he will.
Yeah.
He's not busy, let's be honest.
I mean, he might be in France because he lives in France now. Also.
Oh, does he? Taking over the cracking France, is he?
He is. Well, I was watching an episode of Through the Keyhole, and they... they were
lockdown's getting to you, isn't it?
They were doing his house. Since we've congratulated Maisie Smith for her participation on Strictly, we should also congratulate Marty McCutcheon for her role on The Masked Singer. Spoiler alert: she was the what was she? She was the
not seahorse.
Not sea. Oh, seagull. Swan. That's it.
Seagull.
Seagull.
She was a big old albatross.
Yeah, God. Can you imagine if bag of chips or battered sausage, whatever the other one is?
That's Sheridan Smith, I reckon.
Yes, I think so too. I mean,
But yeah, Martine McCutcheon was really good.
I know. I was really surprised, actually. It was right at the last minute. I thought, oh, of course, it's her. And yeah, when she took off the mask, it was her all along. Anyway, let's talk about some stories from this week on EastEnders then. And if you're happy to, I think we should start with the Carters because Shirley...
That's the first thing on my list. Let's go.
Well, I'll tell you who did let themselves go, and that was Shirley.
Didn't she just?
Laid into Katy. I mean, do you sympathise with what Shirley did, or do you kind of feel a bit bad for Katy for what had happened to her?
I mean, I think with Shirley, yes, it's ultimately the fact that she overheard Katy taunting Mick about what happened and basically saying the words out loud. You know, you are Frankie's mum, you were Frankie's dad, and I abused you when you were 12. Effectively, was what she overheard.
Yeah,
I like the bit where Katy kind of ran out the kitchen and pulled the chair in the way so that Shirley couldn't get to her. I don't know why that tickled me. I don't know why.
It was like a Benny Hill sketch, wasn't it? You could have almost added that. Or Shirley rages around the kitchen.
Shirley smash. And. Yeah, I know it was good. I mean, yeah, of course you can totally sympathise with Shirley because that's her son that happened to. But I also think it was a sort of outlet for her own frustration as her role in it. Because she's angry with herself as well. Because if Shirley had stepped up to the plate, so to speak, Mick wouldn't have been put in that situation.
That's it. I mean, Shirley feels bad that she was never there in the first place. Even, far back to when she was 12 and 13. But Mick seems to have forgiven her now.
Which I'm so pleased about.
Which it is lovely. And it's nice to have them back together as a family. To have Linda, Mick and Shirley again together as a unit. I mean, again, there's not many Carters around anymore. No. And to have them work together and just finally communicate. No more secrets. That's what Mick and Linda's mantra is.
# no more secrets. I mean, the thing is, what did confuse me though, when we left last week, Frankie was in the police station, having been arrested, and rang Katy because she had no other options to come bail her out. But then the very next time that we see Frankie, she's sat there having a go at Katy about talking about... Well, that was really weird. It was like we missed an episode or something. It was really weird. But Katy is now... Well, I think she's just desperate now. I think she's at that stage of EastEnders villainy where she's now going to do anything to keep her secret safe, isn't she?
Yeah, the mad thing is, though, is that Mick has already openly said, I don't know whether he's using it still as a threat toward Katy, but he's told Linda and Shirley that he doesn't want anyone to know about it. He wants to keep it a secret.
Yeah, but I don't think Katy knows that.
Oh, okay. So Katy has no knowledge of that whatsoever?
No.
Okay.
Because she's busy fretting. She was trying to get Frankie off to Australia. No DNA test could be taken so that it couldn't be traced back to her at any point. And I think that she's still in that sort of mindset of trying to desperately cover up everything. Now that Shirley's punched her, and now that she knows that basically the whole family knows what happened, what is her next move? What can her next move possibly be? Surely for her to try and escape.
I feel the biggest casualty here is Frankie. As you say, she seems to be being pushed away by both Katy and by Mick. And she's really confused by it all. It's such a shame for Frankie. I wish someone would tell her what has been going on. I think Frankie is old enough and, brave enough to understand it. And she is rebelling against seemingly by drinking and starting fights last week,
Well, I mean, the highlight for me this week was when Frankie got arrested last week. We're supposed to believe that Callum arrested her last week, weren't we? Or something. Or Callum was very sort of integral in her arrest. And then the next time that we see Callum, he's getting drunk with her in the Albert again. It's the worst copper in the entire world.
We all knew that. She's very forgiving, isn't she, as well? She was like, oh, that's okay, don't worry, you're only doing... I think she even said that he's only doing his job to Ben. Well, yeah, but you could have put a blind eye. I mean, for the number of things that Callum has turned a blind eye to as his role as a police officer, his 6-month role as a police officer, he can't put do it on a fight. Just tell her to just run out the club. He let Callum.
Might as well have done.
Yeah, Callum let Kush run away. Why can't after a heist? I'd love to go a show, just one show where I don't say the word heist. Just once.
Yeah, well, good luck with that.
Ben seems to be Frankie's only comfort blanket at the moment, which is nice, actually, for Ben to have.
It's a nice role for Ben.
Yeah, I agree. He's
We were saying last week that I quite like the fact that Frankie has, she's ballsy enough to be mates with Ben. You know what I mean? I think that the pair of them kind of bounce off each other quite well. Where it leaves Callum in the equation, I don't know. Because maybe Frankie's going to be some form of support for Ben when the whole Callum thing eventually explodes.
I think Frankie will ultimately end up being a bridesmaid for the wedding of Callum and Ben, which we received our invitation for, by the way, this week, Rob.
Have we?
Yeah, yeah. So
good.
we're looking forward to going to that.
Can't wait.
Going to put on my best dress and my favourite hat.
My bridesmaid dress.
Yeah. Shirley is also on the hunt for Tina. She's openly said to Gray that she's going to be looking out for her and try to find her. Gray doesn't seem too worried, so has he hidden her very well? Is Tina dead? Do we need to accept that finally?
I think we should make an official sort of thing here, whether we believe Tina is dead or not. I do not think she's dead at all. I'm putting my Sherlock Holmes Mystic Meg hat on now. I do not think that Tina is dead whatsoever. I think she's tied up somewhere in a little cabin in the woods, and Gray's going back there every now and again and feeding her bread and giving her water and all of that sort of thing. But I think that she is going to be revealed to be tied up somewhere, and she's not dead.
Do you think it's going to be a bit like when Mel and Hunter buried Rain? He like literally sprung back up, like
the hand coming out of the ground,
pivoted from his hip and just like bent 90 degrees upward and and grabbed Mel's hand.
Well, I think they're going to do a sort of similar thing as Denise was revealed to be alive in Lucas's cellar, isn't it? She's just going to look up all sort of scared and bruised with a Subway wrapper on the floor and all.
I mean, it's an old trope on the Walford Weekly podcast, but they haven't used enough warehouses in London. There's plenty more for them to find.
We haven't seen a warehouse in a while. We're due a warehouse.
We are, and we're due Tina being in a warehouse with Sky Sports hooked up to a 40-inch Platinum TV, courtesy of the Panesars.
I mean, I think CBeebies is probably more likely for Tina, but yeah.
Tots TV is more for Tina. Talking about Gray, actually, we should quickly dive in that on Friday he got a little bit upset with Karen, because Karen seems to be doing a better job looking after his kids than he is still. And I think I know. And he seems, do you think he's jealous or just angry that she's interfering?
I mean, I think the thing with Gray at the minute, all he wants now is for him and the kids to just be alone now, so he can get on with his life but he can't have that, because one minute he's got Shirley and Tina living with him, and then the next minute Karen is coming, and he keeps walking downstairs or walking into the house to finding his house full of people and mess, and just people telling him how to live his life. So I'm guessing at one point soon he's going to go a bit mad and throw a plate or something.
Even Bailey was sympathising with Gray this week by saying, it won't last. Karen will only cook tea from scratch and have vegetables for another couple of days. In no time whatsoever, we'll be getting tea from Bill's every night. Yeah. So even Bailey was beginning to notice, I think, that Karen was kind of overstepping her mark a little bit. But I think Gray definitely seems quite upset with what Karen is doing. Do you think Gray is going to show some of his, is his mask going to slip a little bit around Karen? It's not really
I think
happened.
It's bound to. He's becoming more and more unstable, isn't he? The fact that, essentially, if we're being led to believe that, essentially, he killed Tina in cold blood. Like, the Chantal thing, even though, he left her to die, but the Chantal thing was a spur-of-the-moment kind of, explosion of anger that resulted ultimately in her death, whereas the Tina thing was very premeditated and very sort of right, I've got a plan now. This is right. Okay, I've killed her. This is what I now need to do and take her away.
Yeah,
so
but when he killed Chantel, yeah, you're right. It was very spontaneous, but it was all of a sudden. But then it was very calculated after that. Don't forget, he went to buy a bottle of milk, so it looked like he just walked in, dropped the bottle of milk, a very specific bottle of milk.
Yeah.
And it seemed to be the same for me with Tina as well, because like Tina wound him up and wound him up and wound him up. I don't think he had any intention of killing her that night, or maybe killing her that night. And then after it happened, then the plan came together of him wrapping her up like a Subway sandwich and banging her in the boot. So do you think it would be more calculated then that he's planning maybe to slowly wean Karen out of his life and his children's lives, or do you think it would just be sudden?
I mean, any sensible person would realise that Karen has lost a daughter, and the kid and Macamira are the only sort of connection that she still has to Chantel now. Anybody else could sort of realise that that's going on. But I think that Gray never sees anything like that. He's just sort of focused on his own life, and he's got this picture, I think, of what his life should be and how it's all supposed to go. And he keeps finding people basically drawing all over this picture and filling in gaps and redrawing things.
Yeah.
So he's the sort of person where that just will drive him absolutely insane. And I think, I don't think he's going to be it's not going to be a slow thing with his anger towards Karen. I think he will take it and take it and take it and then just suddenly explode again.
Oh dear, I do not look forward to the scenes with Gray and Karen. I really don't, because I think
I'd like to see him try take on Karen.
Do you think?
Knock him she'll knock him flying.
Oh, I know, but she is a very strong character. You're absolutely right, but I just think with someone like Gray, he's just so overpowering. He just seems to have this hold on people, doesn't he? That they just turn to gloop and just because look what he did with Krit. Like Krit is quite a strong character in my mind. He's quite threatening, but as soon as Gray came along, he almost became reverted into a childlike form.
Yeah, but I don't think Kirat was afraid to take him on though. Like Kirat was capable of like sort of throwing accusations at him from across the square, and sort of was quite prepared to sort of take Chantel away from him, and I think would have stepped up to the plate when that confrontation ultimately came. So I think it depends who he's with. I think someone like Tina, who is quite a flighty person, he sees her as someone that he could bully and dispose of. Whereas the likes of Karen, Shirley, he'd have difficulty with them, I think, because they are not afraid of people in general.
That's true. And they're the most supportive toward him at the moment.
Exactly. So I think he's surrounding himself with the wrong people, if anything.
I look forward to seeing what goes on with them lot next week. Right. Denise, Isaac, Tina, Sheree, lots of little bits and pieces happened with their story this week.
Yeah.
Finally revealed that Phil didn't carry out the attack. So that's kind of thrown a spanner right into the works. But before any of that happened, Lucas had visited Patrick after everyone basically all hated Patrick, all put their hate on Patrick, and he's now had a stroke and in hospital. Isaac and Sheree are Isaac seems to be stepping up to the plate looking after him, while Sheree seems to be taking a step back. Yeah,
it was surprising, wasn't it? It was a surprising little role reversal there. I think Sheree is sort of, I don't know, because the thing is with Sheree, like, she's a party girl and she likes being a flighty person and getting drunk and flirting with other men and all that sort of thing. And I think now that this has happened, it's something that's kind of forcing her into a role that she's not altogether comfortable with. She has to be there as sort of the supportive wife and tell Patrick to take his pills. And I think it sort of almost maybe reminds her of her age and Patrick's age.
Yeah, it's funny.
Which is never a fun thing to be confronted with. Let's be fair.
Oh, bless them! They're as young as they feel. I mean, Sheree is younger than Patrick, isn't she?
Yes.
I thought, yeah. And so, do you think that she feels like she's now going to have to, as you say, waste her life with Patrick looking after him, which is something that Patrick's genuinely fearful of, isn't he?
Yeah, I think that she's had her sort of moment now, and I think she'll step up now. Because I think, especially now, she's got Isaac behind her, and the pair of them are sort of, Isaac's now fully taken on Patrick into his life. I think Sheree's now kind of settled enough now. I think the problem, half of the problem was that she wasn't sure how Isaac would have reacted. Because can you imagine if this had happened before Isaac found out that Patrick was his dad?
Oh yeah,
it would have been a complete nightmare for Sheree. Which, if anything, maybe that's what should have happened, because then the drama would have been even bigger. But hey, the more interesting thing is, because we know Patrick's got medical history and all that sort of thing, and apparently this is nowhere near as serious as the stroke he had last time. Because the last stroke he was in hospital for about 6 months, and barely was in the show. And this one he's home by the end of the week, so he's all right. The more interesting thing is Isaac, who has said, he had a conversation with Sheree, and said that, yes, Patrick's got someone to look after his medical problems, but who is going to look after mine?
Yeah, I know. I really was intrigued by that. I wonder what they were talking about.
What be that then?
Yeah, what be that then?
What be that then?
He seemingly has a history of alcohol, drugs. We talk about it as if there might be something there, but I don't know. It's interesting to think, isn't it? What could it be?
I don't know. I mean, it's something that, because the thing is, like, I don't see how he still has a job as a supply teacher. Maybe he doesn't, because he's never there. And, you know, he's much happier just kind of getting drunk, getting stoned, doing anything he likes, really, which is fair enough. But it's kind of like, what is he covering up in his own mind? What's he trying to forget about, essentially? So which makes me think that it's something quite serious.
His health issues. He was very specific. He said health issues because he related it to. So it feels like it must be something physically wrong with him. But then why... Isaac has been in the soap for a year. Why has nothing been mentioned until this point?
This is it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I think that it's going to be interesting. But the thing is, though, the speed the stories are being told of at the moment, it'll have a walking stick in about 2 weeks. You know, it's I don't know what I mean. Apart from maybe I think it must be some sort of degenerative thing that's going to start to show itself in the coming weeks.
Do you think Sheree has known for a very long time?
Well, she must have done, because he said this to her, didn't he?
Yeah, but I wonder how long Sheree has known. Again, let's build a story in the background, in the past. Let's pretend that things have been going on that we've not seen on screen. Has Isaac known for a year or something? Only told his mum when he came back, when she brought her back last Christmas, not the Christmas.
Or maybe she's known all along, and it's been something that's been there since he was a kid.
Well, that's the other thing.
I mean, my medical dictionary isn't very large, I'm afraid. Like, Patrick had a stroke, I get that. And people have heart attacks, I get that. Apart from that, that's, you know, the only time I learn about medical things is when the soaps tell me about them. So, I don't know. I'm assuming, like I say, it must be some degenerative thing. But apart from that, unless it's MS, which Kate hosted with Corrie, I don't know if that's a story that's particularly close to her heart or something. I don't know.
Could it be cancer? I mean, we can't rule that
cancer
out.
Again, would it be?
Yeah, that's true, because with Jean. I found it interesting that they've kind of they've brought Isaac and Patrick together very quickly now, because they've obviously thought, right, let's rewrite Isaac here. Let's forget he's got an issue with his dad's story. Let's find a way of having Patrick and Isaac get together very quickly. So Isaac's now said he's going to support his dad after his stroke. Make sure he takes the pill, make sure he takes the blood thinners. And now give Isaac this new story, which again involves Sheree. So I'm welcome to it. And
absolutely. I'm pleased it's here, because I was beginning to wonder what the point of in Isaac was.
Well, other than a bit of eye candy, of course.
He's all right.
Oh dear. Phil didn't do the beating of poor old Lucas.
No.
We know it was Chelsea that did it. We found that out last week. I loved the phone call with Chelsea with what I could only be described as a character from Grand Theft Auto.
Shouty angry man
going, don't sort it out or else I'm going to go sort it out for you 4 weeks time.
I'm not keen on the whole point of him giving a week's deadline, because we know how that goes.
Well, 4 weeks. Did you notice it's the exact same time that D.I. Gaffney
essentially means that that Chelsea's got about 4 years to sort this out in that case.
But do you think that the voice on the other end is D.I. Gaffney? He's got that time frame, you see. It's always the same. 4 weeks.
No, actually, I do know... Well, I know there's an actor being cast for this role in this story. I don't know anything about him apart from the fact that he used to play Scott Windsor in Emmerdale. So he's a new character. He's not anybody we've dealt with before. Because I was kind of listening to the voice going, do I know that voice? Is it Janine? No, it's not Janine.
Was that his voice? It could have been Janine. Was that his voice then?
I'm assuming so.
Well, that's awful. I genuinely thought it was like a cartoon. It was proper. If you put in a Google search, stereotypical Cockney gangster,
would be
the result.
It was showing my age here. It was a bit like you used to watch Stop the Pigeon.
I did.
That's what it looks like when the general rings him up.
That's a very good comparison.
Thanks. Yeah, there you go.
So Chelsea
that's that character's nickname from here on in, the General.
The General. Okay, yeah, so the General phoned Chelsea, and the General wants results in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Drugs. It's related to drugs, I take it.
Well, it's something being held, isn't it? She said.
Okay.
Is it? It sounds like it's drugs.
But do you think? Why do they want Lucas so badly? Do they want? Is there like an intent to traffic Lucas for some reason.
What?
Well, exactly. I don't know what's making Lucas such a precious entity that he needs to be captured by the general and taken away. I don't understand really. I don't.
Well,
really
I
know.
think I thought it was. I got the impression that it was more to do. It was more sort of just to scare Chelsea and sort of like, this is what I'm capable of, so you need to do as you're told.
Right.
But then again, she was saying on the phone and talking to the general, saying like implying that Lucas was part of the plan and he didn't realise it yet.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. How was she just going to drop, like, when they're inevitably in a heist, going to be outside the...
I was so pleased when she said that. I was like, Alex is going to be delighted.
Oh, you should have seen me. I rolled up in a little ball and cradled myself for 5 hours. Is she just going to tell Lucas, her dad, like, you know, you're now part of this, prepare yourself, the general will give you the orders very soon?
Maybe. I don't know. I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go, because I've decided I can't keep saying how ridiculous this story is every week, because it completely, it is. It's insane, and it's doing nothing to make itself make any more sense than it did when it started about how he's out or anything like that. You know, it was nice of them to mention his probation this week when he went to see Denise. This is the same probation that apparently allows him in and out of the square whenever he likes, go see Denise whenever he likes. You know, there's no point in me crowing on about that every week now, because it's not going to be wrecked. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just nuts. So it just go along with what the story is. And I'm intrigued to see what Chelsea's role is from here on in, because apparently she's turned into some sort of gangster's mole since she's been away.
Yes. Well, we'll learn more, I'm sure, in the future, and no doubt Denise will be tied up one way or another within it.
I think so.
Talking about ridiculous stories, Ruby's pregnant, and Ruby is pregnant, and Martin is fully on board now. Well, kind of, because every time Ruby wants to actually get pregnant, Martin finds a way of not consummating, not having sex.
What app did she have on her phone that tells her that this is the most now? Have sex now.
I know.
What app was that? I'm just going to put my hands up now. I like this story. I don't care. It's nuts. It's camp, and I want it. I hope it proper goes on for months as well. I want it to get to the stage where she's having to throw blankets under her dress and everything to kind of simulate a pregnancy. I want all of it.
Well, it should last for 9 months. There's a guarantee.
I want it to last 9 months. I'm quite happy for it to last 9 months. I want it to go on as long as it possibly can until Stacey, in a fit of rage, like grabs her and pulls out a cushion from underneath her dress in front of everyone in the Vic or something. That's what I want. I love it. I
mean, there is a lot of websites out there where you can actually it gives you step-by-step bumps, as it were, where you can actually fake a pregnancy. Genuine. There's websites and you basically say, can you please send me my 1 month bump? And then you have a 3 month bump. Yeah. I mean, Ruby doesn't seem to be taking that route just yet. That's a very drastic route to take.
That's insane. What? How is that even legal?
Well, I mean, she's deceiving her own husband. You know, was what you do in your first year of marriage.
No, I mean, like, how is that kind of website even legal? Like, what is wrong with people?
They even give you like step-by-step guides of how to then lose the baby as well. So it's a very intricate plan here. I mean, if that is... At the moment, it's, as you say, Ruby's using her iPregnancy route app, and she seems to be trying to get pregnant with Martin. Martin's more concerned about rebuilding his friendship with Kush, eating pizza, and having a dozen chicken wings.
I found Martin so relatable this week.
Yeah, I know. I related to that too.
Yeah,
and I love that
we go to bed now. I've ordered pizza.
Yeah, he did. He said, "But there is a pizza coming." I was like,
me. I relate to that.
So where do you think Ruby will go? Because obviously she's getting quite desperate now. Will she do this route, or will she?
I hope so.
Fake losing it earlier on. Will she just admit to it and say I'm really sorry, and then they hash it out between them? Well,
I mean, what's the most dramatic way for this to go? The best route is, I think Martin is slowly coming round to the idea now. You know, Kush was really happy for him. He had a really nice scene with Sharon in the park earlier on in the week, where she's kind of gone, yeah, well, plans, are made to be broken and all of that sort of thing. And I think he's going to slowly come round to the idea of having a kid with Ruby, to which point she'll be so horrified that she has no idea how to deal with it. And then she'll just be forced into faking it and all of that kind of thing. Because I think, she runs a club. So it's now going to get to a stage where, as stressed, she wants a glass of wine. She can't do that at the moment. We saw her go, which I think sort of confirmed the lie, didn't it? Because she went for this bottle of wine and then heard Martin come back and then quickly hid it again. So it wasn't as if she'd forgotten and then, oh God, no, I can't drink. We know she's lying now.
Yeah.
Which is great. And I just welcome it. I really want it to happen. And I want it to get to the stage where she's forced to fake it and she keeps trying to get Martin to have sex with her. But eventually, even Martin will work out that the dates aren't going to tally up. So she's going to have to start pretending pretty damn soon.
There's a story a few years back where remember Zoe Slater? She faked pregnancy to keep Dennis, and so she slept with Dennis's dad, Dirty Den, in order to. Obviously, she can't sleep with Arthur because he's died. But but do you think that's a possibility? Ruby sleeps because Ruby does like to sleep, or did used to like to sleep around. I don't think
I can see her kind of getting one more ride out of Max before he leaves.
That's what I was wondering. Do you think we're going to have a little gingerbread baby coming out of old Ruby at some point?
That would be great, wouldn't it? The moment it's born, Martin just holds it. Why is it orange?
Yeah.
You have an affair with Donald Trump or something? What's going on here?
I'm on board with it if it goes... Like you say, it's camp. It's not camp enough for me just yet.
I'm quite happy for it to go full on Footballers' Wives.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's always a space for me where EastEnders or any soap can just have a really ridiculous, over-the-top story within reason. And
which we'll come to.
Yes. And for something like this, I'm like you. I'm on board. I'm not perhaps as happy about it as you seem to be, because I think that it seems to have taken a very weird route where Ruby has completely changed her character and her personality for me, other than she's very sneaky. And Martin doesn't seem very interested. Ruby was Martin's world for a long time, and now it doesn't seem to be much to him at all anymore, other than now.
Yeah, but I still maintain that this is all just to keep him, and that she's just not. She's thinking very instinctively. I don't think she actually wants a kid. I think the reason she suggested it to Martin in the first place is because she saw what a family man he was with Stacey and all the kids, and when Arthur went missing, realised that that's the way into Martin's heart, and said, "Right, let's have a kid then." You know, I think that she is just trying to keep hold of Martin and trying to get back at Stacey and just trying to keep that sort of level, whereas obviously it's going to start disintegrating before our very eyes very quickly. So I welcome it all. Bring it on.
Anyway, I think it's time for you to play a little game with me.
This is Martin Fowler's 5 a Day. This is Martin Fowler's 5 a Day. I have delved into the Walford Weekly archives and looked for a classic game that you used to play all the time.
I love this game.
And found this beauty. Now, what do you tend to do for your time limits? Do you want to go soft or hard with this?
But what is hard and what's soft?
I'd say hard's probably about 15 seconds. Soft is probably about 30 seconds.
Oh, I'll go soft. Oh, yeah, 30 seconds, yeah.
5 things in 30 seconds. Are you ready?
Yes, born ready.
You perched? Right. I would like you to name 5 characters that died on Christmas Day. Go.
Pauline Fowler.
Yep.
Abby Branning. Oh, no. Does it count? No. Okay. Okay, wow. Oh, gosh. Why is this more difficult now?
Half your time.
For goodness sake. This is ridiculous. Oh, give me a clue.
They died. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hang on. Pauline Fowler. It's because I'm stressed. I'm under pressure.
Yes.
Pauline Fowler. There must be more.
Yes, Pauline Fowler. There are more.
Why have I only got iconic deaths in my head? I've got Pat Butcher. I've got New Year's Eve and New Year's Day deaths in my head.
I know.
It's a common thing. Okay, name some, and I might.
What I will say is that I would have given you if you'd have given me 4, I would have said that you'd won the game.
Because there's only 4.
Believe it or not,
there
is actually only... The reason I brought this on as a question, because I thought of it as a question, it was a genius question, and looked online and was really surprised by what I found. So I thought it'd be an interesting way to kind of share this fact that I'd discovered.
It's a very long-winded way of sharing a fact.
That's what I do. There are actually only 4 characters that have officially died on Christmas Day.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Can you name the one that was in 2002, the first ever EastEnders Christmas death?
2002?
Yeah.
Is he quite a big one?
Yeah. At the time, he was, yeah.
He was.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
No.
Go
There
on.
is some big deaths in here.
Go on.
Right, so the four official deaths
Yeah.
on Christmas Day, the first ever one was Jamie,
Of course it was bloody Jamie.
and then Pauline,
Yes.
then Archie,
Of course, Archie.
and then Derek.
Oh, yeah. Derek don't care.
Yeah. But, and then I would have accepted if you'd said Yusuf to me, because he died officially he died within the time frame of the square. It was on Christmas Day, although it aired on his actual death episode aired on Boxing Day.
Right.
But yeah, there have actually only been 4 official character deaths on Christmas Day in EastEnders. There you go. So because of how big Christmas is on EastEnders, so there must be at least 15 people who had died on Christmas Day in EastEnders, and there really isn't.
I'm kind of glad to hear that, to be honest with you.
Yeah, because then it would kind of cheapen it, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Lovely.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much, Rob. Thanks for that.
Chaotic. Right, there we go. That was Martin Fowler's 5 a day.
Okay, well, let us know how you guys got on at home, if you did infinitely
Which wouldn't
better.
be hard.
Which wouldn't be hard. I got 1 out of
1.
4.
I didn't even get a time. It wasn't, it was a trick question. It didn't even have time to be a trick question. You didn't even get to the trick.
So we just talked about death. Let's talk about someone who's on the cusp of death. Yeah, very much. And that's Ian. Poor old Ian. Yeah, Ian is getting a little bit sus now because Dottie won't accept Sharon's please forgive me for me throwing you out the Vic and throwing a bottle at your face.
Yeah. Here, have some more bottles full of alcohol.
Yeah, enjoy. Max is on to Sharon now after listening to Sharon make a phone call to the doctor saying, oh, can he have his blood test and mental assessment?
I mean, if Max is onto you, you know you're doing a bad job.
It was sweet, actually. There was a scene with Max when he went upstairs to talk to Ian.
Yeah, I liked that.
And Max said, Linda is the only person I've loved. But also it was really nice that Ian and it seemed very genuine. He said to Max, well, good for you. And it was
It was a nice character moment between the two of them.
I really thought that too. And even though Max then left very abruptly and said, well, in classic Max, like the fact that he acts off quite, calm and quite caring, and then all of a sudden just goes off the brink and just storms off.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, I don't care then, you look after yourself, I hope you don't die, and then just storms out the room. I did think that was a really lovely moment between them both. And it was nice. I think it's a shame that they've never had a friendship with Max and Ian. And that now will never happen. Well, in the near future, anyway. I think Max and Ian would have actually made quite a good duo, funnily enough.
Well, they're both as selfish as each other in
Yeah.
the grand scheme of things. But I think what you run the risk of two people who are that similar sort of clashing all the time, which I think is ultimately what we've ended up with, isn't it? Two people who are only interested in their own personal interest, whether it be in Max's case getting laid, or in Ian's case making lots of money. The pair of them were always going to butt heads, I think, is the way forward with it. But ultimately, Max has now worked out officially, even right down to all the nitty gritty details, that Sharon is poisoning Ian. He's worked it all out, and
all the nitty gritty details.
All the nitty gritty details of Sharon poisoning Ian, and it's amazing, really, because he said to him, like, "Oh, be careful about any cocoa that you drink," all that kind of thing. So he's worked literally everything out.
Yeah, absolutely, to the note. He's just is exactly what Sharon has been doing by Ian's evening routine.
And now, because he overheard Sharon pushing back this appointment that Ian had made with the doctors for a mental health assessment and a blood test. And Sharon rang the doctors in the bar, stupidly, because she's so rubbish at this. Rang the doctors in the bar, surrounded by all her pub goers. Max overhears her saying that she was going to she pushes the appointment back a month.
No. Have you noticed how much she pushed it? A month, 4 weeks.
4 weeks, yeah.
D.I. Gaffney's doing the assessment and the blood test for her.
Either that or the general. Max explains to Ian what he overheard, and Ian initially doesn't believe him. And then he asks Sharon whether she has spoken to the doctors.
Yes.
And Sharon's like, no, I'll deal with it in the morning,
Yes.
which instantly then, I think, seals in Ian's brain. Oh dear, I'm living with a black widow.
Yeah. Which must be really shocking to Ian as well, considering that this whole story has been based on the fact that he's trusted her because they've been best friends since literally day one of EastEnders. So do you think this is this has cancelled out Sharon's character and just destroyed her.
No, I don't. I think
Why?
I just think that's a bit of a melodramatic way to go about it.
But then it's a soap, so I like to be melodramatic.
Yeah, I know. I just think that I know it's not an ideal path for Sharon's character. I get that, and I get that it sort of tarnishes the whole sort of relationship between her and Ian, which is one of the only sort of steady things that has ever gone through EastEnders' history. I know that. But I just also think that Sharon's just mad with grief at the minute, and I'm not saying it's been well done or anything like that, but I do think that it makes her redeemable. I think that there'll ultimately be some big confrontation between the two of them, and Sharon will just fall apart, and then we'll instantly feel sorry for her, and then we'll just move on and pretend it never happened. I just think that's what's going to happen. I don't think it's going to, especially I think by this time next year, Sharon and Ian will be, sitting together laughing. Do you remember when you tried to kill me? I could just see that happening.
She's almost doing it for Denny, and in her mind, I think she thinks that it's almost it's almost like one last stand to kind of respectfully remember Denny. I think that after this, it'd be very difficult for Letitia Dean to stay on the soap, and I think she might be do you think she could take a break? Because I can't see what more after this that they could do, because the aftermath is the falling out of this is going to be obviously that no matter what people think of Ian Beale, to try to deliberately kill someone, it seems to be. I don't think a lot of people would be necessarily on Sharon's side, because you think Max would be on Sharon's side, but he's not. And I know he's kind of doing it for the money, and so he's doing it, as you say, for selfish reasons. But I think there is a little bit of heart there as well, and Max realizes that what Sharon he believes is doing isn't right, and it's not the right thing to do. And I think that the only way we can redeem Sharon is for her to leave and then come back in a couple of years' time, and then have a hello Peggy kind of return, maybe to Ian.
I thought you'd see me again.
Yeah, maybe knock on Ian's door and be like, oh Ian, I've made a mistake. She's about to marry someone.
I know what you mean, but I kind of think that it's ultimately going to happen with this is that it's going to result in quite a lot of scenes with Ian and Sharon just talking. I wouldn't say no to a two-hander, if I'm honest.
I wouldn't say no to a three. Actually, I wouldn't mind
with Phil
as well. I would like it to be between all three of them, because they are all so strong.
Yeah, and I think perfect.
Yeah, and I've noticed actually this week has been very character-driven. And
I thought that,
and it's been back to it's not the peak of EastEnders, but then you can't expect it all the time. But
no.
What I mean is this has been a really EastEndery week for me, and it's written so well.
Yeah, it's been a really well written week on the whole, I think. And there's been lots of nice little moments in there that seem to have come out of nowhere, really, in the grand scheme of things, considering where we were in terms of it, in terms of watching some characters talking to each other on screen. But it seems this week that the relationships between them have been sort of put under the microscope a little bit more. Like the Sharon and Martin scene. It's kind of like, of course these two have known each other for years. Sharon has known Martin since he was a baby. You forget about stuff like that. It was nice to mention Pauline and for Martin to call Kath Auntie Kath and all of that kind of thing. It's like all those little bits and pieces seem to have been missing from it recently. So it was a really nice week of watching actual people and characters on screen sort of interacting with each other whilst all this madness goes on around them. And the Sharon stuff, I think, ultimately is going to end in what I hope is going to be a really nice sort of character piece between Sharon and Ian, hopefully Phil as well. I've been all up for that because I love Phil scenes. And I think what will happen then is a similar sort of thing that what happened with the Bobby thing, that it will kind of just be kept between them. Ian will tell people he had corona or something like that, and then people will just forget about it and they'll move on, and it'll just be something that will always be there in their relationship. The way to do that moving forward, in my opinion, is then to make that a factor in their relationship where they know, if anything, madly, insanely, but I think it kind of could work. If anything, it brings them a bit closer together ultimately. Because let's face it, if all the stuff that Phil's done to Sharon over the years, and she's still there sort of at his beck and call in the grand scheme of things. So if she can forgive Phil, ultimately, who was mainly responsible for Denny's death, then she sure as hell can forgive Ian. And Ian feels madly guilty about the Denny thing. He never has. I don't think he's ever sort of taken his foot off the pedal of the whole sort of thought process of I am responsible for Denny's death. If I hadn't have locked him in that cabin, he wouldn't be dead. So I think ultimately there's going to be a lot of kind of self-forgiveness going on. and then they'll move on, and we'll just kind of look back at it and think, remember that time that Sharon went a bit mad?
And we'll remember it fondly. I mean, yeah, like you say, in 2 years' time, we'll probably look back and think, oh, that was a funny little blip in Sharon's personality. Yeah. But
I think.
Hopefully a three-hander to maybe sum it all up nicely, because I don't think
we're not going to get that, mind, but I hope we do.
You never know. But it must be.
Well, I have a feeling. Ultimate geek mode here, though. You ready? But I have a feeling. I have seen that. I think next week is the stuff is when this kind of comes to a head, and there's a Simon Ashdown episode next week, and he normally gets the big episodes.
Yeah.
So at the very least, we're guaranteed a well written, good character piece.
Lovely.
Next week, I think. So fingers crossed.
Oh, rub hands together. Very excited.
Talking of rubbing hands together.
Well,
yes.
More than hands were rubbed on this story. So, I mean, we'll just basically say there was a party that Ash went to, nurse of the NHS, well done. And then they decided to jump out of the party and go to what I've now renamed the call centre as the Panasar Sex Palace, because
so many people have had sex.
So many people have had sex all near.
It's turning into Ian's living room floor all over again.
It really is. They literally don't even open the bottle, and then Suki walks in and she's like, what's going on here? Everyone out. Peter drops a condom. Uh-oh. Suki's like, you forgot something, Peter. And then just the most wonderful moment where Suki basically... It was filth. Let's not beat around the bush here.
It was absolute
filthy.
Filth.
It was absolutely. It was like a 1970s soft porn film. It was like the line that came out. So Peter said, like, I can see where Ash got her looks and her mouth, meaning obviously being a bit gobby. And Suki looks up and says,
I want to see how well I can use it.
Yeah.
Brilliant. And absolutely brilliant.
I mean, I squealed.
So did I.
Absolutely squealed. I wish, and I know that it would never have happened, but I wish that someone in the editing department thought to themselves, you know what? There's a duff. There is a duff right there.
Can you imagine?
With Peter Bill
staring in shock at the screen as the credits roll.
With Peter Bill. Yeah, Peter Bill just kind of looking around, because I loved his reaction as well. The way he looked around and then looked back at her and smiled.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh my God. So Peter and Suki. Pukey. I mean, I think some people saw it for just the absolute ridiculousness that it was, and
Loved it.
Fantastic. It was just fantastically ridiculous.
It was mad.
Oh,
actually, I think it was a really, really clever little reversal as well, actually, because all for the past few weeks now, I think, we've been waiting for sort of Ash and Peter to start being a thing, and then all of a sudden, Suki just enters and just turns the story completely on its head with one little line. None of us saw it coming. I don't think there was a single person in the world who would have seen that coming.
No.
And and it was just brilliant. And then the next day, because it's kind of left in the air a little bit as to whether it actually happened or not. But then the next day,
I think,
I know, but it's definitely basically confirmed the next episode where Peter's in the cafe, asks for a coffee, and Suki's kind of like, I'll get that. I'll give him a large one. I know I enjoyed one. And all of it, it's just filth. I love it.
Absolutely. But it feels like, do you think that this could be where, like, Suki, like, Peter, because we know that Peter maybe still does earn, like, an allowance from Ian.
Oh, yeah.
Do you think this could be a Suki pays Peter for gratification kind of story?
I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, because the fact that she paid for his coffee, like, and he didn't say no. Peter don't care.
He was quite happy with that.
I mean, I love the idea of that.
If anything, he turned around and went, "Yeah, too right. Where you been? You're late."
yeah. Oh, an extra shot of vanilla as well. Thank you very much.
Your tardiness.
But I love that. I can't think in my history, not even Hollyoaks has done a story where there's been someone who is there's a relationship which is basically this older woman is paying for a younger man to kind of like gratify her and have sex with her, and that's it. Because there's no way there's going to be a relationship between them. I don't think. And I can see the obvious story, which is that Ash is going to find out and she's going to be like, "Ugh, that's my mum." But do you think there's more to this, or do you think that was just a bit like the Corinne and Stacey story? They've had their fun. It was
one-off sort of thing.
It was a one-off thing.
But it seems like a really random thing to do, though. Like, I understood the Stacey and Kierat thing for what it was, because it was literally like both of them were feeling pretty lonely at that moment, and it just so happened that it was like two ships in the mist, and they sort of found each other, and and it was, it was all fine and lovely and dandy. But then the Suki and Peter thing, it's so random that there has to be a reason for it.
There has to be a follow-up between them. And I wonder if it will be that there's some kind of secret relationship between them. And why? But why is there then this secret relationship? I mean, Peter and Corinne have that past as well between them now. Peter's really getting himself, not like that. Peter's really getting himself tangled up with the Panasonic.
Yeah, he's getting. He is actually, isn't he? You're right. And I think it's an interesting. Do you think that there is any sort of feelings from Asher towards Peter?
Yes, I do. But I think it's more. I think it's more because Ash is pretty much done with Iqra, and I feel sorry for Iqra. Yeah, so do I. I think they ruined the character, and they ruined the relationship between Iqra and Ash, and I don't know why they did it. I don't know why, because I think it's really interesting to see this. It used to be this very stable relationship between two women. It's nice to see a happy gay relationship on a soap without any turmoil, and as usual, this just turned into this kind of destructive relationship between them, where Ash just doesn't seem to have any kind of affection for Iqra. She always sees Iqra as some kind of like almost bullying character that tells her what to do.
Yeah,
almost like her mum, which is strange. I don't know why.
Yeah, it's a shame because. But then, having said that, maybe all is not quite lost for Iqra because she finds herself flirting with. And can I just say, I'm not entirely. Is it Mila?
Oh yeah, the girl, lady, the girl behind the bar.
Can I just say about Mila, if that's her name? I'm not entirely sure off the top of my head.
Hang on, I wrote it down actually.
Yes,
because I thought that was an interesting name.
Not half as interesting as the cast, as the woman who plays her.
No, her name is Mina. Mina.
Mina. So Mina, I'm just going to say it right now. I had absolutely no idea who she was at first. It did not connect in my head at all that she was the same person that Kim had that little one episode thing with where they were fighting for the job. Completely forgot about her. And then she was sat behind the bar flirting with Frankie. I was like, who's she? And then the next episode where Kim was kind of commenting and talking to her and saying and complimenting her on her coffee and saying, well, I wouldn't normally compliment someone who nicked my job. I was like, oh my God, it's her. I didn't make the connection whatsoever.
I had made the connection, but I was also a little bit taken on the back foot because I thought, oh my God, they're actually making her a character.
She's an actual character apparently, and she's about to. And of all the storylines to get herself into, she goes to Iqra, who obviously is the storyline machine. But there seemed to be a bit of a frisson, shall we say, between her and Iqra. So maybe there's hope for Iqra as a character yet. Maybe she's not quite out the door. Let's just say again how amazing Suki is. Right at the top there of my Julia's theme list. She will stay. She will remain. Just, I love her. I love her so much. Yeah. I mean, I think it's interesting that we, if the conversation is there to sort of consider if the gender roles had been swapped around, it would have looked a lot less. It would have looked a lot more creepy. But thank God it wasn't.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it. I really enjoyed it. And like you say, I just feel like there's nothing they can write for Suki's character that doesn't make me want to
she can't
scream and be like, just give me more.
She's amazing. There is nothing she cannot do. And I would actually quite like to see now. I mean, I think realistically what she's doing here is, well, either she just wanted a quick shag, if we can say that, or she's got sort of plans with Peter in terms of getting to Ian, maybe, or she just wants to get back at Ash for something that she's done.
I think if it's going to be anything, it will be the very last thing. I think it's all down to, she must have seen that there was that connection with him and Ash, and she thought, I know how I can ruin Ash's life. But where it will take us, I don't know. But I'm on board and I'm ready for the ride. Yeah. Last story then, and a very sad one. Obviously, last week we've learnt recently that Jean has got cancer, this time breast cancer, which is different, isn't it? She had ovarian cancer last time.
I don't think we've actually learned that she's got it. She's assumed that she's got it.
Okay.
And left before she was officially checked.
Wonderful scenes. I mean, I will toot the horn all day long for Jean. I love the character of Jean. And if this is Jean's last story, I spoke to Ben actually. I said, if this is Jean's last story, I will be very upset because
I'll riot.
Yeah, because when Jean whenever Jean left the soap of EastEnders, I always used to say I wanted her back.
Yeah, bring Jean back.
I loved Jean. She's just such. She's one of those characters that can easily have a main role, but also can easily have a back role. And in both scenarios, she's always almost the star of the scene.
Yeah, absolutely.
And she's had so many scenes this week where she was just the centre. But she had the scene when she was at the hospital where she was being checked, and she was there checking herself and crying. That just moved me to tears almost. She had then the scene when let's big out for Mo for giving Jean that wonderful ombre eyebrow tint.
Great, I thought. Once she was in her full-on outfit, I was like, go on, Jean.
Yeah, I thought so. And she went to the party. She looked a bit nervous. When she danced by herself and she didn't care what anyone was thinking, she had that lovely conversation with Iqra as well, where she said to Iqra, you should build your own path. Don't let everyone else, my mistake was that I let everyone else tell me what to do. And I'm now telling myself what I'm going to do from now on. It's just brilliant. And
yeah, well, she spends the week being a bit of a sage to a lot of characters on the square, really, isn't she?
Yeah.
She like you say, she did it with Iqra. She does it to Dottie, who basically tells Dottie to basically go and tell Sharon to shove a champagne where the sun don't shine.
Yeah.
And then she gets involved with Sheree as well and tells her to sort of pull her finger out and get where she needs to be. This is kind of what Jean does, though, isn't it? Like, once she is in a certain frame of mind, she suddenly becomes ultra wise owl Jean and sort of knows and kind of is very good at advising people, because I think people look at Jean and see someone who has been through the mill quite a lot.
Yeah. It was wonderful to see her so relaxed, though, and to see her like just completely devoid of any kind of. Obviously, she's scared. I think she's scared of her death, but it's almost like she's just devoid of any care, and that she's just not letting anything get to her anymore. Like, this is it. She's gonna party. She's gonna have a good time while she's still on this earth.
I mean, we haven't heard anything officially that Gillian Wright is leaving. I really hope she is, and I think what's more likely to happen is, because has she gone off now? She's gone off somewhere to go and live life for a bit, hasn't she? I thought that was the tone of the video that she left for them.
Jean? Well, we don't really know. We just know that she left a video message, and she had recorded a video message, and she said that she wanted to live each day, and doesn't want anyone to tell her what to do or what not to do. But there was never any indication that she was going off anywhere. I don't know. I mean, I've got a prediction what I think is going to happen. However, it's in my official 2021 prediction envelope.
Oh, is it now?
It is.
Okay.
So I'm keeping it to myself. But I don't know. As you say, they've not really said. There's no indication that Gillian Wright is leaving the soap, nor that Jean has cancer actually at all, and that it could be just a false alarm.
Yeah.
But
which we all hope.
But in a funny way, I think it would. You say we all hope, and I do. I love the character of Jean, I really do. But it's one of those things that you should leave on a high. And if they were to write Jean out, I personally would be devastated. But I would consider it as a real high, that she's leaving the soap. She's one of the very few characters I think who could leave the soap right now, and I would say she's had a good couple of years, and I would be pleased.
I know what you mean. I do know what you mean, but I don't want this to be her exit.
No,
because I kind of feel. I've got to be honest. I sort of feel like if they were going to kill Jean off with cancer, then the kind of thing to do with her character would have been to sort of have her die like with Daniel, and sort of give her happiness at last with a man, and then they can both go off together. Like, why do a cancer story with her that she survives, and then not even that much later bring it back again?
Yeah, I mean, I think she was happy, though. I feel that the way they wrote the Daniel and Jean story actually was good for me. I like that Jean. Again, almost like what I just said, he left on a high. That he left with Jean loving him and being in love with him, rather than letting their relationship kind of peter out to nothing. And I know what you're saying, and it would work in the same way that if they made Jean and Daniel die together. But I think that would have been too much to do that, and they let Daniel have his moment. And I don't care what anyone says, I love the character of Daniel.
Oh, I love Daniel. I thought Daniel was an amazing character.
I thought he was brilliant, and I thought Adrian Emerson did it spot on.
He did.
And I think that Jean now needs her moment. And I can't say what I'm about to say because that's also in my prediction. But yeah, there's in my mind, I have how I want the story to go, and ultimately wouldn't be too upset. I would be upset, but I wouldn't be too angry if it was the end of the character of Jean.
Okay.
But they can't do too much, because Lacey Turner's also going on maternity leave. So and I want Stacey to be back as well, because they can't do anything. They need Jean and Stacey to be together. Or else it make no sense whatsoever.
Who knows? Who knows? I have also got all my predictions saved in my phone at the moment. I will print them up and put them in an envelope. But they're all done. I've predicted my stuff. And I reckon I've got points coming in December. I'll tell you now. Excellent.
Alrighty. Have you got anything else to mention, to add, to say?
No.
Lovely. Okay, lovely.
So that's the week in EastEnders. A good week, I thought. I enjoyed this week, but we will find out what you think now in I Ain't One to Gossip.
You know me, I ain't one to gossip.
So we've got some comments from our lovely listeners. This week. Richard Gold. I really think Gillian Wright may be the best consistent performer on the show right now. Jean may not be one of the flashier characters, but she really elevates the episodes that she's in. That last scene was just heartbreaking and beautifully performed. Agreed, I think. We've said, well, we adore Jean. We adore Gillian Wright. And I hope that she has much longer left in the soap because she's just an amazing character. And I think Gillian Wright plays her brilliantly.
I honestly, I'm very torn with the character of Jean because I love the character of Jean.
You're torn basically between loving Jean and wanting yourself to be right, aren't you?
No, honestly, I'm really not. I 9 times out of 10, yes, I'm one of those people. Yeah. But on this occasion, I don't know. I just think that I've given my reasons. I don't need to go over them again. But I love Jean.
Matthew Lawrence says, it'll be interesting to see how Max actually leaves. I'm wondering how far they will actually take Ruby's fake pregnancy and hope it doesn't just fizzle out like previous fake pregnancy storylines. I can't wait for Sharon to be found out on both her and Ian being confronted with their actions.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Ian's actions? Is Sharon who's doing the wrong in now, isn't she?
Yeah, but I think that Ian has got to sort of face up to the fact that half the square did want to kill him at one point.
I mean, that's something that's been forgotten. I think you've talked about it last week, but that cracks me up as well. That like literally everything, the whole build-up, like no one seems to care now.
No one's bothered now.
No, other than the old comment of, "Oh, Ian doesn't look very well anymore." Like, yeah, you tried to kill him apparently at one point. Yeah. If the flashbacks that we saw on Twitter was anything to go by, it's so funny, isn't it, that they've done that? I mean, I don't hate that in a way because I suppose always with the Christmas story, it kind of happens over Christmas and then that's the end of it.
Yeah, but it sort of fades away.
Yeah, but it's just funny that they've done it that way.
And finally, Vicky Tucker. Now, I think that this comment is not so much a comment, but more of a confession. You'll let me know what you think. Is it just me, or is anyone else wondering why Sharon is grinding down pills to order for each cup of tea, rather than doing them as a job lot? Don't get me wrong, I've never tried to poison my husband with random neighbours' medication. But if I did, I'd grind up all the pills in one go when he was out or in the shower or whatever, so I wouldn't constantly be on the verge of being discovered. And I could do one thorough clean-up so as not to risk contaminating anything my baby's food might go in. And a plain white powder would be easier to hide, for example, in an old face powder or talc pot, than medicine that clearly doesn't belong to me, or am I just overthinking it?
Oh my God.
I mean, all good points, but very forensically put there, Vicky.
Yeah.
Is there something that you need to confess? Because that's very well thought through.
I mean, it's one of those games, I don't know if you used to play it in the pub, where you you've had a few drinks, you're with your friends, and you all basically kind of trying to work out how could you commit the perfect murder. Have you ever played that? You kind of sit there and you go, right, so if we did this, this, and this, how could we cover it up with that, that, and that? You know, and I think that, you know, that email is basically a soap version.
Effectively, yeah. Vicky's just sat in the pub in her mind, just having this conversation with us, which I applaud, frankly, because I can't remember what a pub is.
Well, I was going to say pubs are on lockdown, so we don't know pubs are open in the UK at the moment. So perhaps she's just at home. She's had one too many wines at home. Her husband's maybe annoyed her. Burnt the pork chops for tea that
left
night.
Left his underwear on the floor.
Yeah, not emptied the dishwasher properly, you know. And
don't mess up dishwashers.
No.
That's another dangerous thing. I'll tell you what, Vicky's husband's playing a dangerous game.
Yeah, Vicky's just basically there plotting.
Yes.
You know, there's probably like numerous empty talcum powder bottles in the bathroom. The husband's like, why are you keeping these? Oh, no reason.
I've got to go powder my nose and powder your coffee.
Like, I just imagine, you know, in Costa when you order like a cappuccino and they put like the shape of the coffee bean on top, like with cocoa powder. Do you reckon she does that with his cappuccino?
With a skull and crossbones.
With a white powder.
Yeah.
Oh, it's white chocolate, darling. It's white chocolate.
Honestly, have this drink. It'll relax you.
If Vicky's, is it Vicky's?
Vicky, yeah.
Vicky, if Vicky's husband is
Vicky Tucker.
Yeah, if Vicky Tucker's husband is listening to this podcast right now,
run, Mr. Tucker.
Get out, run. Call D.I. Gaffney.
Yeah, he'll come. You'll definitely die then. Don't do that.
Call Callum.
Sorry, Vicky, that amused us. If like Vicky, you'd like to be mercilessly ridiculed by us, you can contact us on Twitter or Instagram at Walford Weekly. Find us on Facebook at Walford Weekly Podcast. If you're listening on YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, and click the bell to get notifications about our spoiler videos. You can listen to us on Apple, Podbean, Spotify, or any of your favourite podcast sites. You can email us at robwalfordweekly@gmail.com, or for the other guy, alexwalfordweekly@gmail.com.
Can I just...
We'll be back next week. Go on.
Sorry, I'm just going to say thank you to everyone who's emailed. We never used to get emails, and I seem to be seemingly getting a lot of emails now, which is not a bad thing. I'm loving reading them.
No, I get loads now. I quite like it.
Do you reply to them, or do you kind of think?
Yeah,
oh, good.
I do.
I was going to say because I reply to them too. So if you do send an email, do expect a reply. It might be go away.
That's what the fans expect, you know.
Do they? Yes, we are getting, as I said before, we are getting photo cards organised. For our
can't wait.
our mugshots.
Yeah, I can't wait for my professional photo card to be stuck on the head of a baby for next Christmas. Yeah, I can't wait for that.
Don't forget to get your ombre eye tint.
We'll be back next week. Until then, we bid you both goodbye.
Bye bye. Take care of yourselves.